Claude has just showed me how to reduce deep vein thrombosis or blood clotting. Basically, I should stand up and give a talk rather than I sit there. Especially those traveling on a long flights. Like me, I took about 24 hours to come here from Singapore, so I understand the blood clotting. So I would like to begin by saying how I feel. It's an immense privilege of great proportion to speak at a venue where Amma has poured out her compassion for inequality, how to reduce inequality. Title of my lecture is more or less resonates with that concept, basically nanotechnology divide. I want to ask you, did you hear about digital divide? Digital divide, you all know that. So absolutely, we are witnessing digital divide. Through the ICT innovations, many people got benefited and still being benefited, but it's also a lot more people are not seeing the benefits of ICT revolution. As a researcher deeply involved in nanotechnology for the last 20 years, I also see the same thing is happening, or going to happen, in a nanotechnology domain. So that's exactly what was communicated in this morning. To understand this one, I deliberately switched off my translator when I was listening to Amma, and I actually don't know the language, to be frank. And I actually experimented. And I would probably say, for understanding the truth, language is no barrier. I want to tell you that nanotechnology clearly is a divide that's going to come through. And next 5 or 10 minutes, I think Shanti is getting worried. I will not take 10 minutes. I'll do it in 7 minutes. Okay. So if you remember Ramu, when he was presenting about this particular United Nations, how it came together, had a first resolution 101. He spoke about atomic energy or atomic science 70 years ago. If you look at this particular chart, it is essentially to communicate to you the significance of nanotechnology in terms of the real change or the impact on the humanity. So essentially, in the current day and age, it is becoming an important tool for advancement. I want to say that nanotechnology products are already there. All those who are using cosmetics, if you're paying very high price for a cosmetic, more or less it has a nanotechnology. And if you buy a lens, which is very expensive, it has a nanotechnology. Because it is coated on that one, it gives you a better light transmission, you're able to see things better. So obviously you see the evidence of nanotechnology is being used in a day-to-day life. But what is more is going to happen is, it is going to have an impact on a number of other areas. Clean water, clean energy, everything else, even building an environment. And United Nations, as Helen Clark was saying, in a few months from now, many nations are going to commit how to reduce the global warming potential gases, or what they call CO2 emissions. So every country is trying to pledge how they're going to reduce those emissions. And nanotechnology would play a significant role. In the next 6 to 7 slides, I show you an examples. This is not a lecture. Obviously, as a professor, I cannot take you through hundreds of hours of lectures, but I'll just show you the snippets of this particular research. What you see there are the mangoes. Most people would love mangoes, especially those that come from South Asia. They're very familiar with mangoes. And for you to keep these mangoes from ripening, at least for you to reduce the food wastage, nanotechnology is being applied. You actually see the pictures where the nanotechnology is applied, you find the mango still remains green for a much longer period. Whereas the other one, it ripens very fast. So you imagine you are shipping or transporting mangoes from your farm or a rural village to actually where it is being consumed, and that's going to have a perishable goods, and there's an impact. So obviously it's going to change the lives of people, community. Another example for you. And there's a lot of other areas where the nanotechnology comes in fertilizers and a lot of other things. I know most of us here sitting, either vegetarians or non-vegetarians, and those who feel strongly about non-vegetarian or harming the animals, you have a solution. You can continue to eat, but it's no longer produced from the animal. This is synthetically produced meat. It's a protein meat. So you can now eat with your consciousness very happy. You're not killing the animals. It's just taken out from the cells, the patty is made of your taste, and eventually you have the burgers and more than burgers, any type of meat you like. And it's actually not a meat. So there's an oxymoron here. It is not a meat, but it is a meat. But that's out of nanotechnology. And, well, it's not about food, it's also about homes. It's a 3D printed home in China. So you like it, they will print it and send it to you. Right? So it has, can you imagine a building of this one, which has basically concrete, which is reinforced with steel. You can imagine a future concrete with no steel. And steel is the one produces a lot of CO2 emissions. Concrete is the major source of CO2 emissions around the world. Major contributor. So nanotechnology is actually coming along the way. And actually I brought along 2 bricks, concrete bricks. I thought for security reason I didn't bring them here. The reason is when you see the color, you think I probably brought a dynamite here. And I didn't want to do that. I don't want to create a commotion. But I have these 2 bricks. If you hold it, one is lighter, another is heavier. And the lighter one is actually made of nanotechnology. Very strong, actually much stronger than the ordinary one. So just to give as a proof. So, and then we talk about water. In fact, there's a company in the United States launching this product, which has this nanofibers, which I'm specialized with Dr. Shanti. And this is the one you can drink water on the go. That means most polluted water, surface water, you can just take through the bottle, and then you suck it, and you can drink the water without feeling, would it harm you? So that's again nanotechnology. So I think there was a talk about how long we live. Actually, Amma mentioned, say people live up to 75, but they die at the age of 30. And that's for several reasons of the health and other issues. Biologically, we are designed to live up to 120 years. In case you have doubts, you know now how long you can live. Right? So what happens is, mostly that at about average lifespan is about 85 or 75, you minus of 10, that is the time basically the health starts slowly declining because all the food we eat and other things we do. So key question is, how do you actually extend the life without feeling the diseases and suddenly one day you drop dead? You just die. You sleep and next day you don't wake up. Isn't it wonderful? Who wouldn't want that? Everyone wants it. So that's a solution, again, nanotechnology. Everything is... So by now you realize, at the end of this, my lecture, I'm basically evangelist for nanotechnology. Right? So that's it. Everything. Regenerative medicine, controlled drug delivery. We come up with a new one called electroceuticals. That means, like pharmaceuticals, we don't use drugs. We just use electric pulses. Your body has more than 1 billion neurons. Each one is a tiny neuron. If I can access it and stimulate it, you don't need a drug. That's the whole concept behind electroceuticals. It's a big R&D area, and this is again nanotechnology enabled. Okay, essentially my view is, as a person looking into this thing, the world has changed in the last 70 years, ever since United Nations was set up. What happened is, those days, the centers of innovation were primarily located in a few places on this planet. But now, 21st century, you find innovation taking place in every corner of this world. And the question is, how do you bring them together so that you leverage and harness nanotechnology for the benefit of a large people and you reduce the technology divide? So these are all the whole things that are needed. Essentially, one concept which Shanti has spoken is about creating an IP exchange, which is basically under the platform of UNA START, which Dr. Venkat spoke about in the morning session. Using the similar platform, or the same platform, we will have an IP exchange where there are so many IP that is already there, and they could come together and provide solutions. Just to tell you, there's a lot of IP out there, but they don't get translated because lack of funding, lack of opportunities to exploit them. So that's why we provide this opportunity. So that's where we call UNA START Nano IP Exchange, is one of the ideas to reduce the nanotechnology divide. And as Claude and Shanti has mentioned, we have the capability at the National University of Singapore for translating these ideas. For example, one of those machines, you see that, which are designed by us. And we're going to come together, as well as others in this room, as well as others who are eventually communicate with us. We would cooperate with them in translating these ideas into real-world solutions. And again, you know, we all have one smartphone. Some of them have more than one smartphone, right? Nowadays, people carry more than one smartphone. Where do they end up eventually? Every year, 10 million tons of plastic end up in the oceans. 10 million tons every year. And these plastics do not degrade. So a very popular smartphone manufacturer like iPhone, they actually declare what is a CO2 emission for the entire life of an iPhone. So the future, you are designing these products based on what we call life cycle assessment. So this is, again, we're going to facilitate that process to this cooperation. And again, of course, if you notice, it's a busy slide. I don't expect to test your eyesight. But the point is there are lots of bubbles there, different countries, different sizes, different colors. But what you notice is different countries have a different levels of commitment on scientific research and innovation. So the whole idea is perhaps you create a particular opportunity for people from different parts of the world to come together, and there is some resources for them to act upon. So I basically would want to conclude by saying we would have 3 efforts as part of this particular morning theme. In addition to these 3 institutions, we might partner with others in the form of IP exchange. So in the nanotechnology domain, which we understand well, we have enough contacts to make this into real-world solutions. The other one, basically, we need your support, your encouragement, as well as spreading the word. Essentially, more people supporting these particular initiatives would make this stronger, grows bigger, and eventually it would lead to the certain deliverables. Thank you again.